What's up, UT basketball family? This is Keep Austin Beard. I'm Keenan Womack. He's Ari Temkin. On today's episode, we're going to tell you if the Texas offense can be fixed. But first, make sure to like the video by giving it a thumbs up and then post your comments below. All right, let's talk about Stanford. So I've been sort of writing about this team this year in an article, and I called them the Slowtime Lakers. They're bottom 10 in pace in the country out of 358 teams. They beat Stanford 60-53, but they had 26 second half points. They had a 7-minute scoreless stretch where Stanford went on an 8-0 run. And it's concerning because Baylor beat this team by 38, and they scored 86. Stanford out-rebounded Texas 10-9 on the offensive glass and 33-29 overall. They also out-assisted Texas, but Texas did force 22 turnovers. I would say the bright spot was Disu. He's a very versatile scorer. He can get buckets in a myriad of ways. He had 11 points and 4 rebounds in 16 minutes. Another couple of notes I have is Ramey only played 15 minutes, and Timmy played basically the entire game. He played 37 minutes. So you're starting to sort of see who Beard really trusts on the floor. And the defense, once again, looked good, but the offense is just so lacking that it's hard to kind of get excited about the defense. They are number one in scoring defense in the country, like number one, 53 points per game. And they forced a ton of turnovers, and they also only turn the ball over 11 times per game. So they're forcing 18 per game on average. So they're +7 in turnover margin per game. So
wow.
They take care of the ball pretty well. They don't score very well, but they don't give up a ton of fast break opportunities. They don't get killed in transition like, a lot of teams who turn the ball over a lot do.
Keenan, you asked after our Keep Austin Beard podcast last week, you asked Chris Beard about pace.
I did.
Now tell everybody what his answer was, and then were you surprised by his answer?
Yeah, so he said they want to play faster. I think he said they want to play fast, which it's clearly not happening. I asked him if the pace was by design. He said it was not. But at this point, I don't really know how you could say it's not, because they're like 6 spots above last place in pace right now. And they're averaging like 65 possessions per game in a 40-minute game. I mean, that's crazy low. I mean, Virginia is going to be last place always in pace because that's just the way they play. That's Tony Bennett's style. And Chris Beard has also never had a team finish in the top 200 in adjusted pace.
Interesting.
So his teams play slow.
So maybe his idea of fast is
middle of the road, which I think would be
200
better.
Is his idea of fast.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dustin McComas made this point on one of my game threads that the fact that the offense is so slow is really messing with the ability and the rhythm of the offense. Like, they just can't get into a flow of any kind. And when you're only playing 65 possessions, you have to make those possessions count.
Right.
And they're still really, really bad from three. They shot, let's see, against Alabama State, they shot 7 for 24 from three. Against Stanford, they shot 4 for 16 from three.
But they were like 3 of 11, I think, in the first half against Alabama State.
3 of 11 in the first half against Alabama State.
And we've seen now Chris Beard go with a bunch of different starting lineups. It's always interesting because there's always attention paid to starting lineups, Keenan, as opposed to like who finishes. That's the most important thing, right? Who is the lineup that Chris Beard trusts to finish out close games? It might not be the starting lineup. But
right.
What do you think, from what you've seen so far, what's their best 5? It does not include Devin Askew, I don't think.
No. So I was about to say Devin Askew against Alabama State played 14 minutes. He had 0 points, 0 assists, and 1 rebound. He was giving up the most wide open shot I've ever seen. He dribbled it in, had another look for a floater, and he just passed it out to somebody else who was covered. He just has no confidence offensively. And I like his defense, but he's kind of wild with the ball too. He had a couple of turnovers in the first few minutes against Alabama State. I mean, they scored 2 points in the first 7 minutes against Alabama State. Like, Alabama State's a bad defensive team too.
That's unbelievable.
It was shocking. They were down 16-4, 7 minutes in, I think, or 8 minutes in. That's a bad sign.
So who do you think their best five is? Like who should be their closing lineup from what you've seen so far?
Well, what I would like them to do is run a 3-forward lineup. Like I would like them to run Disu, Allen, and Mitchell at the same time. They haven't really done that much. But I think if you're playing slow and your guards aren't shooting a lot, I don't see what the problem would be with starting that lineup. I think at point guard, you still got to go with Carr, and I think at shooting guard, you got to go with Jones. Because Ramey only played 4 minutes against Alabama State, and he only played 15 against Stanford. So I don't know if what's going on with him, but I haven't heard anything that he was injured or anything like that. So I'm not sure why he only played 4 minutes against Alabama State. I mean, LaCone almost got as many minutes as he did.
That is wild.
It's weird. I don't know what the guy
is. Did he lead them in minutes last year?
I don't know if he led them in minutes, but he played a lot last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was the only guy to start every game until this game. I'm pretty sure, other than Timmy Allen.
So what do you make of Beard's comments about not being by design? I mean, clearly it is, as you mentioned. And is there an adjustment to make to their offense to improve it? Or is it, as you said, just like, hey, two of your best, I mean, if we're being honest here, their best 3 players on offense right now seem to be those 3 forwards you just brought up.
Definitely. It's not even a question. I mean, Disu looks like the best player on the team right now, from what I've seen in his limited minutes. He had, let me see.
How many did he play in the Alabama State game?
He played 18 in the Alabama State game and had 14 points and 4 rebounds.
And he played 14 in the Stanford game?
Yeah, he played 16 and had 11 points and 4 rebounds. Also, Disu, side note, he was the number 1 play on SportsCenter last night for that epic jam over those 2 Alabama State guys.
It was ridiculous.
He jumped over 2 dudes and it was amazing. It was the most athletic play a guy on Texas has made.
I was going to say, we talked a lot last week about the lack of athleticism. Holy cow.
He's a good athlete, man. He's not Kai Jones yet, or I mean, he's not like a Kai Jones athlete, but like who is, he's the best athlete on this team, I think, Disu. And I'm just really excited to see that he doesn't have like any kind of hesitation or like, timidness towards the game because of his injury. He doesn't seem to be scared to go up, jump for loose balls, dive for rebounds, that kind of thing. So I think it's pretty important for this team to get him playing full minutes. And I think he'll be playing full minutes by conference play or like a couple of games into conference play, because they play Incarnate Word next week, which is kind of another, game that
Alabama State.
Yeah, kind of. I'm not trying to like diss any schools or anything like that, but they're just not the same level of competition they're going to see in the Big 12. They take on West Virginia January 1st. West Virginia is not a joke, man. West Virginia has Taz Sherman, who's one of the best players in the Big 12, and they are so lucky that Sheboy left because
he's tearing it up at Kentucky.
He's tearing it up. He had 28 rebounds last night.
He's had a few 20 rebound games where it's like 10 and 25 or something. It's like ridiculous.
He's going to be in the NBA for that reason, because he's such a good rebounder.
And you hear like people like, oh, where'd this guy come from? It's like, he's been doing this for 3 years.
Yeah. That's the kind of guy that kills Texas this year. A guy like that. I mean.
So West Virginia is interesting to me because they're similar to Texas. This is a elite defensive team. They're definitely better on offense. Like Sean McNeil, there isn't a shooter at Texas at this point that's proven to be as good as Sean McNeil can be.
Nope.
If that guy gets hot. Like I remember last year in a game, he had like 25 at Allen Fieldhouse and like it was like 6 for 6 from 3 in the first half. And it's like, who the hell is this guy?
Yep.
But he's become one of their more focal points. And he's a guy that if he gets hot, forget about it. But you mentioned Taz Sherman. I mean, he's a top level player, offensive player, maybe an NBA player, perhaps.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, they're intriguing, but this is similar to Texas. They're a really good defensive team. Questions about offense. And this is what, I mean, we're going to see kind of throughout conference play here. This is an elite defensive conference. I mean, and I don't know, like there's so many stats that point this out that on average, the Big 12 is like a 36 net rating, which is like so far and away ahead above. I think like the second best was the Big 10 at like 60 something.
That's insane.
So it just goes to show you top to bottom how good this conference is.
Yeah. And, you look at like Texas forces 18 turnovers per game and they play this like slow pace, and Baylor forces more turnovers per game and they play at a way faster pace. Like they convert those turnovers into transition opportunities. Like I watched their game against Oregon and they didn't play great in the first half, especially, but they ended up coming down and winning that game because of their transition play. They're so fast. They're so athletic. They're so skilled. Cryer, Flagler, Meyer, Brown, Akinjo, like all those guys are stars. They have a completely star-studded cast.
LJ Cryer is so interesting because it's like he was on the team last year, and just didn't play. And I mean, he all of a sudden he emerges this year, and it's like, who the hell is this? Where the hell did this guy come from?
Superstar.
Yeah.
And that freshman Kendall Brown he's
the real deal.
Star. Yeah, he's the real deal. He'll be a top 10 pick for sure.
So, okay. So how do you can you fix Texas's offense for me, Keenan?
Man, I don't know how you improve. I don't know how you improve 3-point shooting, man. I really don't. If their 3-point shooting was 5% better, they'd be a way better team.
What do you think it is? Is it looks? Is it?
I think they're passing up too many good looks, to be honest with you. I think what they do is they get this extra pass mentality and they end up passing out of good shots. And then ironically, they end up with a bad shot because there's 4 seconds left on the shot clock and they haven't made an opportunity yet. I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of like too much passivity offensively. I think that would be the cure because I don't think they're going to speed up the pace very much. I think this is kind of what you're going to get this year and maybe going forward in general. But they have to start taking shots, even though it's bad basketball. Take open shots earlier in the shot clock if you have to. If you're wide open, like Devin Askew was wide. I mean, like nobody's within 10 feet of him. He could have dribbled and then taken the three. He didn't even look at the rim. He just drove forward and then passed it out. He just has no confidence.
I mean, sometimes it's a thing in basketball. If you pass up an open shot like that, that's worse than taking a bad shot.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of times that's the pass that like you're not going to get a better shot than that.
Right.
And I certainly wonder, that's got to be part of what they're talking about in terms of trying to improve on their offense is take the shot, like be aggressive. You're hurting your team in certain situations in which you're not taking those shots.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing is with bad shots, you can get an offensive rebound maybe.
Right.
There's things that can happen. And, for all the flack this team gets for rebounding, they do okay on the offensive glass. Like Timmy Allen's a pretty good offensive rebounder. And I think Disu is a really good rebounder in general. Again, I've said this a million times. He was the SEC rebounding champ until he got hurt. And by like 2 rebounds a game, the SEC rebound champ. Like the second highest guy was 7.2 and he was at 9.
Wow.
So I think Disu is going to add an entirely new dimension to this team. And he showed it. I don't know that they win the Stanford game without him. Straight up.
That's incredible for a guy that's played 16 minutes.
He was dominant. And another thing I like about Disu is he's not afraid to take shots. He'll take shots. He can shoot threes. I don't think he's hit one yet this year, but he's only taken maybe 3. But he's got good form. He's got the confidence. He'll take the shot if it's there. And just having guys who are a threat to shoot means so much. That's why Askew seems almost unplayable to me because when he gets the ball, you know what he's going to do every single time. If you scout him, you know he's not going to shoot no matter where he is. 14 minutes with 0 points and 0 assists as the starting guard. That's not going to get it done in the Big 12, man.
That's brutal.
It's brutal, dude.
Brutal.
I think he has less points this year than LeCone does.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I mean, maybe that's the answer here. I love your idea of the 3 forward lineup, because of those guys as weapons. And especially given like you're going to get open threes out of that from the perimeter. So if you get guys in spots where they can hit and, now all of a sudden Disu's at the elbow and they bring a double, like someone's going to be open in the perimeter. That's where those shots are going to go.
Right. Even though, and like Trey Mitchell's a good 3-point shooter too. He hasn't really, I mean, nobody on this team has shown that they're decent 3-point shooters this year, but Trey Mitchell can hit shots. Like, I don't know why they don't run more pick and pop with him, like high post pick and pop stuff, because I think he can hit those shots if you give them to him. I don't know how many threes he takes a game, maybe 1 or 2, but I just want more guys taking shots, man.
Yeah.
I just want more possessions. I want more. And again, like I said, they're never going to be a fast team, regardless of what Chris Beard says. Like, they're just not a fast team. That's not how they play. But they could speed it up a little bit.
Well, and I mean, you said it, like when you slow a game down like that, your margin for error and shooting percentages is so much lower, Yeah, it's slim. You're going to struggle to win games where you have, 60 possessions and you're shooting 13 threes. Like, you have to basically make like 7 of them,
Yeah, exactly. And I wrote this down earlier. They are so they were 353rd in pace when I wrote this down. I think they're probably right around there still, but they're 240th in the nation in made threes per game, and they're 290th in attempted threes per game.
Wow.
Right?
How many Division I programs are there?
353. They're 290 in attempted threes per game.
And they're 353 apace?
353, yeah. Right around there.
Out of 353?
Out of 358.
358. Yeah, I mean,
it's not looking great. And like, I will give them credit on defense. They play really hard. It's not an effort issue. It's just like a lacking skill at certain elements of the game issue. I just don't know how this team is going to handle Baylor or Kansas or even Texas Tech, who's the same team.
With an offense like that, right? With an offense like this.
Yeah.
They seem like the opposite of the last couple of years, Longhorns, like
just run and gun.
Right. Score a lot of points, have a lot of possessions, and don't defend or, and play sloppy and not consistently, bad turnovers.
Yeah, a lot of turnovers. That is one good thing they're good at, is not turning the ball over, it's a good thing, man. It's a good thing to be good at. But when this offense is struggling so much to score points, and McComas said this too, and I agreed with him. He said nothing comes easy for this offense.
Yeah,
I think that's like the perfect
way
point to put it. It just looks so disjointed all the time.
We're gonna have to get Dustin on a future episode here if he's still.
I'm sure he would be down. Yeah. That's really what I've got on this team right now. I was not impressed with the Alabama State win. Was not really impressed with the Stanford win. I also think when they start playing better competition, they will play better, though.
Well, that starts January 1st, right?
Exactly. So I think I don't want to get into mentality of the teams because they're amateur athletes, but it's hard to stay interested when you're playing teams like that all the time. The beginning of that game was clearly they were disinterested in the game. You don't go down 16-4 to Alabama State, who's 1-9, 1-10 now. You don't go down 16-4 to them if you're hyped up for the game and focused.
Right.
No,
that's a good
point.
And
the crowd wasn't really there because it was a 1 p.m. tip on a Wednesday. So there wasn't a lot of crowd there. It's kind of like a low profile game. You've been playing a lot of low profile games. So it's not an excuse. It's just just a kind of a fact. I think they're
just what it is. No, I agree with you completely.
That's all I really got, man, unless you have anything more.
No, I mean, I think this show and this will really ramp up. I mean, for those that, are Texas basketball fans, Keenan's been doing a fantastic job with his, the chats during games and the notebook after games. So, yeah, I mean, January 1st, conference play starts, and this thing's going to be, man, it's going to be crazy. The Big 12 is legit. It is really, really good.
Yeah.
And I certainly figured that Texas would be one of those top tier teams. I think at this point right now, it's Kansas and Baylor kind of in their own tier.
Definitely.
But Texas can still get there, but we just need to see some improvements on offense. So we'll see.
They still got to beat Iowa State too, man. Iowa State's legit. Tech is legit. West Virginia is good. OU is good. I mean, the conference is loaded, and it's going to be really fun as a Texas fan to be going to those home games because you're getting a good team every week. So definitely recommend getting those tickets as soon as possible. But all righty, brother. That's all I got. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. And that will do it for this week. I appreciate you, Ari.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, you too, man.
Thank you.